We are joined with Dr. AUQAAB ALIZAI, Professor of Strategic Studies. I will start with Dr. AUQAAB. In Islamabad, we had breaking news that the UN Secretary General is calling both parties to show restraint and to come back to the negotiating table. Um, what are the chances of getting back to diplomacy and negotiations, given that President Trump has declared the MoU over? And what is the role of Pakistan now?
Well, when we look at what Donald Trump says, you have to take it with a pinch of salt many times. We have to look on the ground realities. We know there are strikes ongoing from the United States and vice versa from Iran. But when Donald Trump talks, not everything comes aligned. When he says he's going to bomb and annihilate the whole civilization, he comes back to that. And he said it was over a few days ago, but then he said he still wants talks, and he's trying to use the moment for his domestic audience as well as the international audience and Iran. Now, I think, in my personal opinion, what is really happening is a renegotiation of the MoU. Fact of the matter is that I think when the United States and Iran signed the MoU, there was differences of understanding maybe, and the written word may have seemed ambiguous, meaning have dual meanings from either side, a different meaning. And what we need to do is to come back to the table to understand exactly what the meaning is. But there's also been a development because of what's been happening after the signing of the MoU in Lebanon. And I think the United States has been further persuaded to allow Lebanon to be separated. And that's where the fundamental issue is. It is a pressure tactic to get Iran to back to the negotiation table through coercive diplomacy, but to renegotiate the MoU to some extent, or the rewording somehow, and exclude maybe Lebanon because Israel has not withdrawn. It is continuing operations. That is causing angst and causing problems for Iran because that's fundamentally number one as far as the MoU is concerned.
Is this an indication that ending the war in Lebanon is the reason for re-escalation again between them?
It was always a problem. This was always a main issue. And the Hormuz Strait was always going to be used as a leverage to make sure that that occurred and to put pressure on the United States. So the United States would put pressure on Israel. We always forget because sometimes the media does blow things up and starts focusing on the immediate rather than looking at the long-term, wider picture that was happening. And the bigger issue overall was Hormuz Strait is there, the nuclear issues are there, but Lebanon is ongoing. And when you notice that when Lebanon calmed down, Hormuz Strait calmed down. When Lebanon increases, then Hormuz Strait increases. And when there are three ships going on a passage where not aligned with what Iran says, because Iran was under the assumption that they would be controlling. I think that was the agreement. But there's a renegotiation happening. And I think the United States doesn't want to be locked into the current MoU. And I think they want a renegotiation of it, but they're using violence to do so. And I think they completely underestimate Iran in this respect, but Iran is not going to give in any way. It will take the punishment, I think, to maintain a long-term view that it wants. It wants long-term control, and that's what its objective has been. And then they will negotiate the nuclear issues, which was the first reason.
Yes. In order to be clear, Mr. AUQAAB, Dr. AUQAAB, Iran now is relying on Lebanon or in condition of Lebanon or long-term control of Hormuz Strait.
I think the long-term control of Hormuz Strait was fundamental to them. The points 4 and 5, for example, of the MoU. Long-term control, why? Because they wanted to look at reparations. They wanted money to come back for all the devastation that has occurred and the pressure that's been put on Iran on an illegal war, by the way. Now, this is where the United States has come under massive pressure from within. Donald Trump, that is, and his party, within even the Republican Party. And he feels that if he gives in, his term as a president is gone. And the fact of the matter is, You have the midterms coming in November. He has to try to do something to reverse this. But I think he's left out of options except for violence. And Iran will not submit to violence. And I think one fundamental thing that we need to understand is that Iran thinks that it can economically outlast the United States politically, meaning Iran can outlast economically to maintain its pressure on Hormuz Strait, then America can outlast this economic leverage by Iran politically.
Yes, clear, Dr. Iqab. Thank you. Dr. Auqaab, what is the scenario that is most likely to happen? Would they get back to negotiations in light of the efforts made by all the mediators to reach or renegotiate the MoU?
I think
What are the chances of that? Or are we heading into more escalation?
I think we're in a round of escalation at this moment in time. And as we escalate, what happens, there's a danger that it can all go out of hand, where certain targets could be hit in Iran, for example, and then are non-negotiable on red lines, for example. If they start attacking strategic targets such as the leadership again, I think Iran would abandon the idea of talks for the time being. But eventually, I think all parties want to end this. Donald Trump wants to end this. He's got stuck in a war that he had no understanding of at the beginning, which he created the problem. Now he needs to extract himself, but he will be in a state of humiliation. So he has to look strong in this respect. Iran has done its best to what it can do within reason, and it's attacking any US assets within the region as far as its capabilities allow. And it will continue to do so. But how far can it let go? And maybe attacking Israel again. And that brings that conflagration up again. But Israel is happy that this is happening because at the end of the day, Israel does not want peace between the United States and Iran. Now, this is where the problem lies. We always are going to have this spoiler. I said this many times when I've been on this show. There is going to be a spoiler that's there, and they will encourage problems. They will encourage attacks. We know the other day that Israel was attacking Iran itself when the Americans said they did not do so. So, it's taking advantage of a situation itself.
Yes, thank you so much, my dear guest, Dr.